All righty. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session. For those of you joining us on the West Coast, a bunch of us are still getting used to the daylight savings time, so thanks for joining us bright and early. But good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you guys are joining in from. And if you guys would like, drop in the chat below where you guys are tuning in. I know, Jordan, it is terrible. I'm still getting used to it. Yesterday I was very exhausted. Tampa, Florida, nice. Awesome. All right. Well, I'm gonna get started here as people are still filling up the room. Today's session is going to be about ABM workshops, which is one of my favorite topics. Moving from praying and spraying to position plays with Apollo.io. We've got a wonderful guest today, Jeremy Hurley from SaaSBoost.io. Next slide, please, Jeremy. All right, I think a majority of you guys are already part of the Slack community channel, but if you guys are not yet, please feel free to scan this QR code and join us for more upcoming events that are going to be trickling in the next few months. Next slide, please. Just as really brief housekeeping rules for those that are just joining in right now. We will be sending out recordings as always, so don't feel worried or pressured to write down any notes. I usually like to send these recordings out 2 hours after the presentation. Also, as a quick reminder, please mute yourselves in order not to interrupt the flow of the presentation. And lastly, anyone that is spamming the chat or pitching will be removed or blocked from the webinar. We will usually remove you for any spam, and please keep your questions short so everybody in the chat has a chance to ask. We will be having this presentation pretty engaging, so no need to hold your questions till the end. Usually after each section that Jeremy goes through today, you'll have a chance to put your questions in the chat, and that's a time where I'll also invite you guys to come off mute. So we can have a pretty engaging presentation throughout the presentation. But of course, any lingering questions that you guys might have, we will still have a 5-minute Q&A session towards the end. All right, next slide, please. Introduction. So I'm Faustine. I am part of the Apollo Community Marketing Program, marketing team that leads programs and events at Apollo here. And then today we've got Jeremy Hurley, our guest and community lead. He is a founder of SaaSBoost.io, and he'll be walking you guys through today's presentation. And we've got a great agenda in stores for you guys. Jeremy, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Faustine, and nice to be on Zoom with all you guys on a Tuesday morning for me. I'm based in the Bay Area, but yeah, just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I've been in basically sales and sales management roles my whole career, mostly selling to B2B tech marketers. So I worked for a company called Tech Target for a long time, and then started an outsourced sales agency and mostly focused on the top end of the funnel, like generating demand and kind of setting up go-to-market programs for companies, and started using Apollo.io a lot to kind of do the top end of the sales funnel, and just kind of, I guess, fell in love with the software, especially for kind of early stage or startups or SMB all up into the mid-market companies. So instead of like trying to stitch together 10 different go-to-market tools and data sources and everything, you can kind of do a lot in Apollo. So I used it as kind of my workflow to run for companies, and then have even helped some get more out of it. So that's just kind of like my background and how this came to be. Um, so what we were going to cover today, and yeah, I actually met Faustine at an Apollo meetup event in the city back in December, which was great. And we got kind of talking and came up with this topic, which I think especially, as things are going on in the market, if you're not doing this yet, hopefully you can get something out of the discussion here today, some high level ideas, and then probably hopefully some tactics that you can actually implement. So we're just going to give just, I guess, brief overview of like account-based marketing, ABM, what it is if you don't know, and then kind of give a framework for the strategy behind it, how to build it out, and then how to actually implement it and execute it using Apollo.io. And then, so I'll show you basically my process for doing that. I'm maybe opinionated on it. I'm sure there's other ways to do things, but I'll at least give you a way to think about it and a way to do it. And then you can take what you want from it, obviously. But, and also towards the end, we can show this in action inside of Apollo and some live instances where, we have some of this happening. And then obviously want to make it, we'll have the interactive Q&A and collab at the end, but yeah, we'll take breaks here. And so drop your questions in the chat as we move along. So I know there's probably a lot of different company sizes and stages and people that are in this workshop, but just if you don't know account-based marketing or ABM, I mean, it's been around forever. I think it's like one of those terms that has kind of means a lot of different things to different people, potentially kind of gets like bastardized, but that generally I think people agree there's like three types of it. On the left is like one-to-one ABM, like strategic ABM. That's probably not really what we're talking about here using Apollo for, but that's like, companies that might have whole sales teams to call into one single account, and they do all kinds of crazy, reports and events and things like that. So we're talking more about either the middle or the right. So on the right is more programmatic. So that's kind of like, okay, let's find most of your total addressable market that could be a fit. Are there things we can do programmatically to reach out to them, identify them, get messaging in front of them, and then maybe like nurture them and move them, get to the point where there are maybe more in the middle, which this slide calls it like ABM light, but usually this would be like hundreds of accounts or maybe up to like, I don't know, 300, 400, 500 accounts, depending upon your company size, sales team, all that. But basically, these are really good target high fit accounts. And then we want to do some more different tactics to get after these, like not only like emails, but okay, let's layer in calls, LinkedIn, retargeting, maybe some account specific landing pages, personalized videos, other stuff like that. So what we're going to try to show is how to identify those accounts and then how to set some of that up inside using Apollo. So just overall too, like, why does this matter, and why is ABM maybe better than kind of the spray and pray to contacts approach? I think, and some of this is maybe just my opinion based on clients I've worked with, things I've seen inside of Apollo too, but I understand it is a little bit of a mistake, I think, to just focus just on the contacts. And I get it, because it's like easy to get started. It's exciting. You can get like some quick early wins, but a lot of companies do that, but then they get to a point where it's like, this isn't working anymore, or we need to take a little bit more of a strategic approach. So I think that's where ABM comes into play. So this is kind of a contrast of the two approaches here. And overall, I think probably everyone on this call knows like email deliverability is getting harder and harder. And it gets more and more important. to do whatever we can to only reach out to like the best fit accounts and the best people at those accounts with personalized messaging. So if we don't do that and just kind of, oh, here's like 3,000 contacts that we think we can sell to, and let's just send them this one generic email blast, like a lot of bad things happen. It's quick. So that's over on the left. Like the good news, I guess, is it's quick to get started, but real quickly you can basically like tank your email deliverability. If you're sending, like, I think one of the other misnomers is, oh, if I send an email to somebody that's not relevant, it's not really a big deal. It's just gonna, they just won't reply to it. But A, that's bad anyway, because then your engagement rates are not good and that hurts your deliverability. But B, I mean, they're more likely to mark it as spam or, just block it or whatever. So then it just kind of becomes a death loop here on the left, which is what, I marked it as, versus, okay, on the right, a more strategic ABM approach. It does take a little more time and effort, but if we can do a good job of kind of identifying the best fit accounts that are in market that match our ICP and mapping out, okay, who those accounts are, who are the people underneath those accounts, their personas, what do those people care about, what are the data signals and inflection points where it's good to reach out to them, and how can we like use variables inside of Apollo to personalize the messaging. Then it's, marketing 101, right person, right message, right time, responses are better. Then all of a sudden it's like a virtuous flywheel, basically. Like it can actually work. And I've seen like plenty of Apollo instances on both sides where it's working and people have done this and these sorts of things. And it, you have to stay on top of it too. It's not like a really like a set it and forget it type thing, but it definitely works. Whereas over on the left, those are a lot of times people will say like, hey, outbound is dead or whatever. I mean, it's not if you can do it right. And yeah. So and Faustine, stop me at any point if we have any questions in here, or I also might, it's still early here. I got to get some caffeine in me here and there.
Yeah, sure, no problem. We actually, Danny just asked, can we have access to the recording later? So again, yes, we will be sending out both the presentation and the recording, typically 2 hours after the session. So again, don't worry about taking screenshots or notes. You guys will have this at the end.
Yeah. So the recording and the PowerPoint, I'll strip out my speaker notes. Not that there's anything too interesting in there, but
And then, sorry, we've got one more from David. How do you know if CU is in market?
CU, what does that stand for? Sorry.
Yeah, David, if you want to come off mute for, oh, customer.
Oh, yeah. No, that I think that, yeah, that's a really good question. And I have some slides in here, especially, I think that's one of the places where Apollo shines with all the data points that we can use to identify if a company is in market. Like in market might be like intent data is one of the ways that could be a signal. Like, and Apollo has intent data from Bombora, I think. So there's like 7,500 topics, and they do like a reverse IP lookup at the account level to see if there's a lot of research around a specific topic. So that's one. So if like Bank of America is researching, it all of a sudden has a huge research spike around, I don't know, antivirus software or something, they could be in market. I think it's more of like a signal versus like 100% guarantee by any means, but it's something that could be used to like basically inform an account scoring model or what might be a good account to reach out to. So yeah, I mean, so we'll get into some of that now. So this is basically like a framework for building ABM and then executing it inside of Apollo. And so this is, again, kind of the way I go about it, but you might do it your own. But so I usually start with these saved company searches, and I'll show some of that in a bit, but that functionality inside of Apollo has gotten better over the last few months, I feel like, too. So I just like that because it's like, if you save a bunch of different searches, it's basically a lens over the account data, and there's more data points to kind of filter on versus just jumping directly into contacts. So, and then at this point, it doesn't, what I like about Apollo 2 is it doesn't hurt anything to like create a bunch of these saved searches and different things and kind of show it to maybe your sales team, your marketing team, and then get alignment on it. And then at that point, you can start to build, maybe drop those accounts into different lists. A lot of companies I go into, they have tons of contact lists, but they don't really have account lists. So I think it's important to do that, because there's a little note here too. It's if you have any of the engineering background or developer mind, like it makes it more composable, like little Lego blocks that you can build different campaigns and sequences on, and then even the reporting and the optimizing becomes better. And then if you want to change something too, it's easier. Like if you find like one title is like the wrong title or something, you can more easily just like cut all those people out through those searches and lists. So spend a lot. It's account-based marketing and B2B. That's the idea. We're selling to accounts, and spend a lot of time building those lists with all these different data points. So then I would want to feed all that information into a custom account scoring model, because it's not just a one point in time thing. Like, okay, here's the 500 accounts that we want to go after. It's like constantly changing this data. So we want to tell Apollo, here's what a best fit ICP account looks like. And if new ones come into the market, like, let's automate things so that they bubble up and get added into sequences and call tasks and things like that. So, if a company starts showing intent data, or maybe visits our website or gets funding or whatever, we want to automatically do that. I think like way back when ABM first started, it would be like the sales reps or maybe the VP of sales and the CMO got in a room and decided what the accounts they were going to go after, but we can use the data to do that now. So once we kind of get the accounts in place, then we would build out these personas. So kind of buckets of titles at every account surround the buying team. They may be different personas for different account lists. So like if you're going after the SMB, maybe you want to reach out to the CIO there. But if you're going after the enterprise, like, you're probably not going to be able to send a cold email to, the CIO of Bank of America or something. It's not going to work. So they might have really more specific granular titles and things like that. And then as part of that too, like building out the personas, those groups of people care about different things, so that there's different messaging that they would be interested in, different calls to action. So then at that point, we will build out some sequences by persona, kind of add those blocks together to create campaigns and enroll those people in sequences. And then if things start to work way over on the right, like at that point, we want to automate. So we can use workflows and some of these ABM focus kind of go-to-market plays. So the other thing, this is just a slide, and again, you're going to get this whole presentation afterwards, but there is a little bit of homework I feel like to do before you just start executing and building out ABM. So I threw some things in here. That this first link from Lenny's newsletter, which is a really good like product marketing newsletter about how to identify your ICP. I also have a onboarding document that I use that brings in a lot of this data, like ICPs and messaging and personas and different data points to help build out these instances in Apollo. So that kind of helps you get these like ABM building blocks, basically. So what do these accounts look like? What do the buying teams inside them look like? And then all these pain points and signals and messaging. So that's all the stuff. Once you do that homework, then it's kind of easy to make it happen in Apollo. And then at the bottom, I mean, another question I get sometimes is like, okay, this sounds cool, but we don't know our ICP yet, really. And that's actually totally fine. I mean, Apollo is great even for kind of figuring out the total addressable market, like how many accounts fit into certain buckets, how many people at those accounts, and then even starting doing smaller kind of ABM programs to test all the messaging by these account lists and segments. So it's a good tool for that. Yeah, I mean, I have an example of a company I worked with recently that they were going to go after like Workday installed customers. And they thought that, and it was a startup, and like we got the lists and they were like, and they had some other filters on it, and then realized like, this is like 400 accounts. We kind of have to, we can maybe use that as one of the account lists, but we need some other offers and messaging too. So it's good for that sort of thing. It's, I don't know, Faustine, if there's any questions or anything, stop me at any time. But
Yeah, nothing so far.
okay. So yeah, so this is starting to get into the nitty gritty. Basically, account-based marketing, the most probably important part is kind of building these target account lists. So there's all sorts of obviously ways to build this in Apollo. And I usually start with the company search, like I said. So there's, the typical demographic data, company size, geography, everybody uses that. I think the keywords can be really helpful, especially like the way industries get bucketed. So example here, I had a client that was like looking to reach coffee shops, and I mean, restaurants is an industry, but coffee shops is not. But then you can get into those keywords and build pretty really targeted lists right off the bat using those. And another thing I found helpful there too is like if maybe you have 20 customers, I'd build a customer list inside of Apollo and then look at what keywords those companies are using in their descriptions and things, and you can kind of get to building like lookalike account lists like that. So then website visitor ID, if you haven't put the Apollo pixel on your website yet, I 100% would do that. So basically you can do Apollo will identify accounts that are visiting your site or even specific pages of your site, like pricing pages or whatever. So then we can use that first party intent to do a bunch of different things, but just help, if an account has been on your website and they match a whole bunch of these other different variables, then that's definitely somebody that we should prioritize and reach out to and maybe run like a workflow automation around that. The buying intent topics, which is like third-party data, we talked about that a little bit before. It can be helpful. Technographic data, so what technology is installed at your ideal customers. So it might be software that you guys integrate with or complement, or maybe you are want to run like a competitive program against another software company that you're looking to unseat. So that's a good way to like build a competitive list on that too. And then Apollo has these signals, which are pretty helpful. So like if companies are receiving funding or expansion or new product launches or things like that, that can be helpful. Um, up hiring for specific jobs, that can be a really good one too. If you even if you hire, or sorry, even if you're marketing into specific titles and roles, if a company's hiring to kind of do that, have that as like a job to be done, that can be like a really good signal. Or I don't know, maybe you sell like sales automation software, so you want to target companies with fast growing sales teams or something like that. Like those are other ways you can build lists and help inform the custom account score inside of Apollo. And custom account fields are helpful. So Apollo has great data, but there's also like a niche industry specific data sources. We can upload that into Apollo or get it in through an integration through a CRM. So that's definitely can be helpful with personalization, but also just helping to inform the account scores. And then AI power up. So this is a new, I don't know if you guys have played around with this much, a newer feature inside of Apollo, but basically it's AI inside of Apollo. So if you have, this has been helpful for me in a couple cases. I have an example where a company, it's a payments processor, so they compete with Stripe. So I built like a pretty good account list, but then we wanted to kind of go to each of these websites and go to their payments page and see who they're using for payments processors. So it's like a little bit of a tricky thing to do. The sales reps were basically doing that manually before every call. So we wrote a little prompt right inside of Apollo and then run it against that kind of like 1,000 company list, let's say, and then found like 200 of those 1,000 companies that had the data that we wanted. So like in the past, you'd have to maybe export stuff into ChatGPT or whatever and do this. So now you can do that right inside of Apollo to use and it's helpful to kind of help build these account lists like this. So
We've
yeah.
got two questions.
Okay.
Question number one, when you say ICP, ideal client profile, is that the company or is it a persona avatar, the buyer within the customer?
So yeah, I mean, it's ICP is ideal customer profile. I mean, really, it's both. You need both to do account-based marketing. So what do the accounts look at? And that's kind of what we're looking at here. And then, yeah, you need to figure out the personas within those accounts. Hopefully that answers the question, but.
And then Sean and Danny are asking, maybe a tutorial for Pixel topic would be useful. And then share more about Apollo Pixel on one's website, please.
Yeah, so I know there's some good stuff in the knowledge base about that pixel, but basically it's you put it in the header of your website. And then I can show it I'll show that when we get to the live Apollo instance too. But yeah, you put it on your website and then Apollo kind of does a reverse lookup and it doesn't tell who the exact person is, but it tells like the company level, someone from that company has been on our website. So like what I do then is add those companies into a list, layer that, and I use that data point to help inform the custom account score. But then we also would usually have a workflow like, okay, we know these companies have visited our website. Let's the ones that kind of match our ICP, like all these other different data points, like they're in the right industry, the right company size, all that stuff. Now let's layer that persona filter on them. So if, if we sell, I don't know, to the IT department, let's find the IT decision maker and then drop them into like an IT decision maker specific sequence. So a lot of this stuff is just, it's like one more signal, like to help bump up the response rates, basically. Like somebody from that account was on the site. So that can kind of work pretty well. And you can even tag like specific pages, like our pricing page or something, and use that for, a higher score, or treat those people differently or something. Um, so I've talked about this a little bit, and I'll show this later too, but the accounts, like we spent all this time up to this really with all these different data points trying to decide like what's a good account list to go after and building these lists. But like I said, we want this to be automated in the future. So we'll take all those data points and feed it into the Apollo custom account scoring model. So over time, as new companies, new information comes in, Apollo is going to do a good job of identifying what accounts should be added to the target account list. And the other thing, like you might not be able to see it that good, but like on the bottom right here, if you like scroll over these accounts right inside of Apollo, you all of a sudden get a really, really good view of like, why is this a good target account? Like, and then you can quickly see, like for this example, I don't know, they have a big customer experience department, a big customer success department. They've been on our website. They're hiring for specific roles. Like all this data that we've been talking about shows up there. So even if I'm like a SDR or an AE that quickly looks at that account, it can be really helpful. So yeah, so we've mostly been talking about building the account list, but yes, you need to build the personas on top of those accounts now. So I would usually, I think probably most people are using personas, but if you look at this example over on the right, and this is actually the instance I'll show you later, but so this company sells customer success training software called Success Coaching. So they sell to customer success leaders, CROs, learning and development, chief customer officers, like a bunch of different personas. And actually they have like kind of a little bit of a different message and a little bit of a different call to action, maybe even for each of these. So if you build out the account list and then these personas, and then even clone some sequences and just change like that pain point basically for each one of them, it's a easy way to kind of personalize the messaging and build these campaigns once you kind of have all these building blocks in place. So just a couple, like when we're building out these personas, like I usually build a couple different ones, like one of them with like the exact perfect right titles that we want to reach. That's usually like a smaller list, but then do another one more by like roles, department, seniority buckets. The negative titles are good too, like exclude like certain keywords as you kind of look at the list and fine tune it. And yeah, this is definitely one too, where as you set up these campaigns or emails are going out, or reps are like maybe making calls, like if they realize like these are the wrong people or whatever, like we're kind of going back to the personas a lot to fine tune it. Like, let's get rid of like this specific title or anyone that has this keyword inside of their title. We thought it was the right person, but it's actually not. So yeah, then as I mentioned, like, so we would build these ABM specific sequences, kind of clone and swap out some of the subject lines and call to actions. Like a CIO is going to care about something different than a IT manager or an IT staff person or whatever. Like, if you map out the different personas at your target accounts. That's kind of like part of that upfront homework. But then you can use that to really personalize all this messaging. And this is also where in the sequences, when we talked about those three different types of program or ABM campaigns, like the more programmatic ones, maybe we're only using email right now, or maybe only doing that to like one really good fit title or persona. But for our like tier A or 100 or 300 best fit target accounts, we want to do more there, right? Like maybe we know they're great accounts to reach out to because we have these 30 data points and they match like 25 of them. They're an excellent fit account. We need to break through to them. They should be our customer. So those ones, we're going to do more stuff. Like we're going to maybe add more call tasks for the reps or LinkedIn tasks for the reps, or like I put the show me, me things in here. Like maybe that's where the reps need to go in and really personalize the messaging and things like that for these high value, like tier A accounts. And then,
We've
sure.
got two questions. Those look like job titles. How are they personas? What's the difference? Is question number one from David.
Yeah, I can maybe show it in the Apollo instance, but I mean, a persona is basically a bucket of job titles, but then it can also have like company size and as part of it, and geography. Maybe we wanted actually a different message. We're selling to, I don't know, the UK, and we want to use different language than the US, or a different case study or something like that. But yeah, I mean, a persona at that point, for the way I think about it, is we build these account lists, and then the personas are like the people within those accounts. So they're buckets of titles or geographies or company size or something like that. And what was was there another one?
The second one was, how many emails do you typically use when you automate, clone, and personalize sequences? And what cadence have you found to work best, from Brody?
Yeah, so definitely a good question. I mean, I think there's probably a lot of opinions out there on that, and probably a whole other course on building email sequences and all that. I've been usually doing maybe like three tops now, three emails over a course of period. I don't know. Do you guys have specific like guidance around that now, Faustine, or?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I think in I would probably limit it to that number of emails, but definitely for like these high value accounts, like if you can maybe the more multi-channel you can do, the better. Like put a LinkedIn connection request in there and then send an email, or try to make a call. If they don't answer, leave a voicemail. And we can do things to automate the sequences too, around that, like left a voicemail. Now we move to the an email that comes after that. And those kind of things definitely increase the response rates a lot. And obviously, like any of the show me, like actually do the research, personalize it if you can. I think even what I showed as far as like the custom account scoring models, where it bubbles up all these different data points, like you can use that to help personalize the messaging or even the AI power ups. But some of this is more for these like tier A, like one to many type of account based marketing lists. So it takes a little bit more work by somebody that's inside of Apollo, but that's when it's worth it, because we know like these are really good target fit accounts, and we want to try to like surround the buying team. And this is maybe one thing to look out for, especially if you're going to sell to like bigger enterprise companies. Like you don't want to like just drop like 20, 30, 40 people from one account into a sequence. Like it's actually easy to do that if you're not careful, depending upon how you build those personas. But that's an easy way to immediately basically get blocked. So I would limit it, like when you select these to drop into sequences, you can limit it to like 1 or 2 contacts per account, which I would recommend. And then we can even do some workflows around that where it's like, okay, if those people don't respond, then let's grab 1 or 2 more from these really good target accounts and then try a different angle, basically a different person. But you don't want to like just carpet bomb 5, 10 people from the same account, like on the same week or whatever. I don't think that's a good approach.
Yeah, I feel like similar sentiment to you. ABM playbooks have worked pretty well where it's like 5 or 6 emails and it's layered on with multi-channels like a microsite or working with product marketing to understand what ebooks sell well into that persona, understanding like the industry and even working with content marketing to grab like an ebook or invite them to a webinar that's pertaining to their sector. That usually helps. Building microsites, doing LinkedIn ads, that's very targeted.
Yeah.
So not just emails, but also kind of layering on other factors too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I know we're already kind of moving along here. I have some like workflows that are maybe good to talk about. So this one is so this is an ICP account. They didn't reply to us initially, so maybe we drop this wait on this contact again, then drop them into like a nurturing sequence after that. So actually that could use some of the content marketing that you just talked about, Faustine. I think it actually would be good to jump into can you see this my Apollo instance now?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay. So this is a customer of mine that I've helped. So they're called success coaching. So again, we've kind of take this approach. This is a custom account scoring model that we've built using a whole bunch of different data points. So again, they sell customer success training. So they have a lot of different data points on what makes a good account, and we'll give different points. Like, so these companies that have big customer retention or customer experience or customer success departments, we want to give a lot of points. Certain keywords, certain technologies installed, like Gainsight is a CS software, so that's like a good indicator. And then some of these other lists that we built, so companies that are hiring CS, companies that have visited our website, shown intent. They also like bought G2 data and some other lists and things. So we loaded that up into Apollo and use that to inform the custom account scoring model. So this thing does really, so now it's identified like 1,722 accounts that are a great fit according to this algorithm that we built within Apollo that are a great fit. So there's a, so if we go over to the funding, or sorry, the filters now, you can use that model to basically bring up those 1722 accounts. So you might look at like I don't know, monday.com now and see all the different reasons why it's a great account. So they have a big CS team. They're showing high buying intent. They've been on our website. etc. So this is like an account to prioritize. And somebody was asking about the website visitor ID pixel earlier. So that's a filter right in here now. So we actually could even see, okay, we have these 1,722 accounts. Which ones have like been on our website in the last 7 days? So there's 137 of them. So these might be really good ones to do some sort of a call blitz against, as an example, or whatever. Like, and there's a lot that can be done with this data. But one of the things is around the workflows. So as an example, so we've been doing this kind of account-based strategy, building these lists. So if you look at this workflow, we're grabbing all the Apollo high, excellent custom accounts. We're layering on that persona. So we want to grab the CRO and the revenue enablement personas from those excellent value accounts over on the right. We'll just email out the likely to engage and verified people. So now, whoops, I'll stay. So now I'll add those people to a contact list. And then we're also going to add them to the sequence, which is a CRO leader sequence. So in that that sequence targets chief revenue officers. So it's talking about, revenue and churn and things like that a CRO cares about, versus some of the other ones talks about what those personas care about. So this is just like running now in the background. It runs every day. Like there was 8 people today that match that list. So if there's a new target account for whatever reason that bubbles up in the account scores, it gets added to this workflow. If there's new people at those accounts that are match our personas, it'll get added in that way too. And then it's just, the system is just finding the right accounts and the right people to reach out to over time. And we have these guys have been using Apollo for a long time. So there's like a lot of different workflows like that we have set up. But yeah, it's a good example. Does anyone have any other questions or ideas or thoughts on any of this ABM and Apollo?
Yeah, anyone feel free to come off mute too if you guys want to ask anything. I think so far so
Yeah,
good.
hi Jeremy, this is Sean. I wanted to ask, what plan on Apollo do you have? And are you showing this demo with an integration of some sort of software? I may have missed that.
This is usually on the pro plan, I think. Like is that, like the.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. And no, I mean, I think there's the only integrations, I mean, this can all be done without any integration. I mean, definitely if you have a third-party CRM, Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive, whatever, that can be integrated, and there's a lot you can do with that too.
No, yeah, you're right. It's the pro plan. And that's what is the difference between what you're showing and what I have. That was the answer. So thank you.
Could be, yeah.
And then one more question around power-ups. Can you let me know the prompt you use for AI power-ups?
Yes. I might have to send that one afterwards, but I mean, I can even just show if you guys haven't seen like how this works. I don't know. Like, let's say we had this list of like 1,800 accounts that might be good to go after. And we select, okay, only let me select 100 in this one, but whatever, 25. So if there was something we wanted to know about these 25 accounts, you can run an AI prompt here. You can either start with a template or build a custom one. In that example, I had built a custom AI prompt, but basically I wrote a little prompt like go to the website and go see, do they have a payments page? And if so, like who are their payments providers, and give this to me in a clean list that I can use. I'm not the world's best AI prompter. I'm trying to get better at that actually. And all that it's usually like some trial and error but if I built this out and then run it, the result kind of, it'll just come real quickly, like right in a column here. And then you can kind of fine tune it over time. But I would check out the templates too. I know there's more and more of these getting added all the time. I mean, we've mostly been talking about improving your targeting. So, like as one example, like SaaS or non-SaaS, like that's actually a good one for even this success coaching company. Like they prefer SaaS companies. So you could run this and then quickly get a list of which of these companies sell their product via SaaS or not. And then maybe use that to target individual companies or exclude other ones or whatever. This is actually a good one. I should add this for a client, but know if a company had executive changes. I've had a few companies lately be like, we love it when there's a new CIO because that guy comes in and wants to actually look at new software and things like that. So that might be you can play around with these AI prompts, but they're definitely powerful. Another, this is kind of along the lines of account-based marketing or not, but this is a good workflow if you're not doing it. But so for these guys, we built a list of contact customers. So people that have bought from us previously. So then we created a workflow. Okay, if they change jobs, let's add them to this contact list and then either create a task for the rep or drop them into an automated sequence. So there used to be like, I think it's called user gems or whatever. Like there's like software that people pay like $20,000 a year plus to get this information, which you can do in a workflow in Apollo. But so, because we know like our past customers might be our best new champions at new accounts. So there's a lot of like workflows like that if you get the right account lists into Apollo, you can start to do a lot of that. And you mentioned the CRM integration too. Like we can use different either account stages or contact stages from your CRM, sync it to Apollo, and then drop accounts or people into different workflows based on that information. So
Oh, Jeremy, you might be muted.
okay, sorry.
There it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was some of the good ways to use this and in different workflows that I like. I mean, these guys, I mean, there's a ton of different, these guys have like 42 different workflows, but a lot of it is tied to account-based marketing stuff. So find excellent score accounts, drop drop other personas into different things, job changes, hit new leaders, things like that. So, yeah. Are there any other questions in the chat or anything, Faustine?
Anyone feel free to come off mute in case I missed your questions. I believe I captured most of them, but I also shared out your LinkedIn, my LinkedIn, Jeremy, in case anyone has any more specific questions.
Okay.
Yeah, again, and anyone on the chat, feel free to come off mute and ask questions live.
Yeah.
I have a question. Yes.
Hi, Anki.
Yes. Hi. Hi, Jeremy. Hi, Faustine. So my question is like, I just want to identify the right amount of personalization in a message to get a reply. Most of the case scenario I face is that most of the prospect has their vendors in their place, everything, they have everything. So in that case, would we also go for the personalization and that putting our time and energy on that? So what do you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, I think the more personalization, the better, but and I would say like for the show me, you know me type of personalization, which I think that's Sam, I forget her last, Sam Sales or whatever. She's written the book on that, like where you're going to each individual person and really spending time. Like I would do that for like my top fit accounts, but you're not probably going to be able to do that for all the accounts that you might be able to sell to. So there's some more automated things we can do to personalize. So I'm in a sequence for them right now. Let me. It looks like they changed something here. Oh, so I mean, these are just some examples, but there's a lot of dynamic variables here if you haven't looked at them for personalization. So at the person level, at the company level, you can even, if you add in like custom fields, you can then reference those as a variable inside your sequences. So case study is one we have here. This example, like I'm customizing this subject line by their vertical. So it says CS training for, so if that vertical exists, so if you see over on the right here, now it says CS training for solar power generation, because this is like a solar power company. So it kind of depends on your industry and who you're reaching out to and your messaging and all that. But there's lots of different ways that it could make sense to personalize. And all of this is obviously just trying to make it more relevant. Another example here is, so I don't know how well you can read this, but I personalize this by company size. So these guys, they're a CS training firm with 27,000 customers, including, so I put in, if the company size is below 200, we say many startups building and scaling their CS orgs. If they're not, if they're a bigger company, I say customers including like Red Hat, Cisco, HP, VMware, and NetApp. So we're referencing like big companies for bigger companies, but if I'm trying to sell to a startup, it's probably actually a put off to say, oh, we sell to HP. I'm like, well, we're not HP, you know, we're a tiny little company. So then if you look over on the right, like next to energy is a big company. So it talks about Red Hat, HP, VMware, NetApp. And then if I pick, I don't know, like some smaller company, it'll talk about startups. But there's a lot of like you could do that with industry specific case studies is a good one, you know, show banking case studies to banking companies, and a lot of different ways to use those dynamic variables to personalize the messaging.
Yes, thanks, Jeremy. Could you suggest me any book for these templates, like how I can make them, any source of templates to try on a different basis? Because variables I'm still using it. It requires some credits of from the accounts, but I need to have these templates. If any source you can suggest.
Yeah, well, if you haven't read the Apollo book, they wrote a book on outbound sales, which is really good. Honestly, it's a great, like, 101. And then, yeah, as far as like email templates, and I have some links that I could, I'll grab or if you email me on Keat, I'll send you some example links and things that have been helpful.
Sure, sure. Can I have your email, please?
Sure. It's Jeremy at saasboost.io. I can put in the chat too, but yeah.
Thanks.
Alrighty. Thank you guys so much for joining in today. There's no more questions at this time. I will be sending out an email to summarize today's presentation, and then also send you guys the recording as well within the 2-hour time frame.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for your presentation. We really enjoyed it.
All right. I appreciate it. Thank you guys.
All right, take care.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.